Hey guys, it's Jonathan. Thank you so much for watching again. I am here with Jude Johnson. He is a licensed marriage and family therapist. He has a thriving practice in Charlotte, North Carolina, and he is a mindfulness expert, which means all that stuff about calming your mind and meditation and reducing stress in your life, discovering things that and ways that you did not know existed to solve problems and better your life. I am very happy to have you here, Jude. Thank you for joining me. And a cool thing on top of that is we're friends. Jude and I actually grew up with each other. We live 500 miles apart, but we have a really good connection, and it's so funny we both ended up being therapists. But I'm going to jump right into this, Jude. Okay, I want to ask you a question, but I got to set it up a little bit because I was talking with this family, these parents, and they were basically going through every parent's worst nightmare. They had a 15-year-old son, and their son was like this normal kid. I mean, he was a good student. They had a good relationship with him. They mostly were able to handle the situations that were happening with him. I mean, you know, just like normal adolescent turmoil type stuff. Everything was going well until his girlfriend broke up with him. Now, the way she broke up with him is what set this whole thing up. It was on social media. So he's checking online, I think it was Twitter. He saw a tweet that everyone got to see where she said, "We're done, I'm breaking up with you." And then he saw a post on Instagram with this other guy. So he is like completely devastated. I mean, you can understand that. But he is completely devastated. And the thing was, in his mind, his world was ending. I mean, it was done. All he could see, all he could focus on is the loss of this relationship. How much it hurt, how embarrassed he was, and he started isolating. He started just hanging out in his room, not talking to people. His parents got more and more worried, and they tried to reach out to him, but they couldn't get him out of this tunnel vision. He was like totally locked in to the end of the world, the end of his life, because of this happening, to the point that he actually tried to kill himself. He took an extension cord and he tried to hang himself on his bedroom door. And fortunately, the cord broke and he had passed out, and his parents came home. He went to the hospital. He survived, but these parents were completely devastated. Not only that they almost lost him, but they had no clue how to get his mind off of this track of being completely devastated by what he experienced. Does that make sense?
That makes sense.
Yeah. So here's my question. Okay. So what would you tell those parents and how they could help their child with this, help him be able to have a different perspective? And maybe your mindfulness experience plays into this as well. What would you tell them?
Well, the first thing I would tell these parents is that you are dealing with a situation that is different than anyone that you could have been through. Because social media is so powerful that the message spreads so quickly that when we were kids, we didn't really have to worry about everyone knowing all at once.
Exactly.
So one thing I would say is think about your own experiences and when you felt embarrassed or when you got dumped by somebody, and about how badly that hurt you, so that you can connect with your son's feelings. And then multiply that times 10 being all over social media that everyone knows. So you may be sitting back thinking, you shouldn't feel this way, or you shouldn't have done this, and you just want to shake your kid and get him to wake up and not do this kind of thing. But to really step back and realize that being on social media and having such embarrassment is devastating, especially to a teenager.
Yeah, you know, what I'm thinking is there's this other term that we use in therapy working with kids, and it's connect and redirect. And one of the things about connecting with your child, with your teen first, is it helps them get out of that tunnel vision. I mean, right there, when you're connecting with them, you're giving them this other point of reference. Like, people love me, they care about me, my parents are talking to me, and that alone, that connection, can help kind of pull them out, or at least start to pull them out of that focus. And that's what I hear you saying, how important it is to really connect, to really empathize, and make that the first step.
That is the first step. I know that what you want to do is just shake your kid. You might be feeling hysterical. You want to say, you can't do this. We don't think that way. You need to like do something different right now. Yeah. However, if you really want to engage with your kid and so that he will listen and open up, he has to understand that you connect with his emotions first.
Yeah, absolutely. So that's first. They connect. They spend that time just really showing that I'm in this with you and I get where you are, and they have that connection. What are some things they can do from that point to move the process forward?
Right. So they might be wondering, how in the world am I even going to do that when I'm so frustrated of my son's behavior? And what I would say is deny those initial emotions to become reactive and slow down, to pause, to maybe take some deep breaths. Notice what your feelings are, and remember that acting on them in the moment may not actually be helpful, that you need to take some time for them to pass. And this actually is the very thing that you'll want to be teaching your son, is that this deep emotion that he's experiencing also will pass. It's kind of like his whole life is burning down. His whole life is on fire. But the truth is that really only one tree is on fire. But it feels like the whole forest is burning down for him. So we have to relate to that emotion and kind of walk him through this in a way that he can see that this is not really the end for him.
Jude, that is freaking awesome. That is the first time I heard that. That is cool. Did you hear that? The forest, what was that? There's one tree on fire, and you think the whole forest is on fire. So for this kid, that's all he sees, but really everything else, there's so much good going on. The forest is not burning down. But it's interesting, if you don't take care of that one tree, then the rest of the forest could burn down.
That's right, because he could assume that everything else in his life isn't going to work out. And if he believes that, what I always say is what we believe is our reality, and we need help seeing that perhaps what we're believing isn't really true sometimes.
Yeah. So that's hard, but it's that connection, not overreacting, and then what?
Well, I think the other thing is really beginning to ask your son questions like, how did it come to this severity that you would want to take your own life? And what was going on in your life that you felt like you couldn't come to us and talk to us? Just really open-ended questions. I think questions that begin with what and how are so much more helpful than saying, why'd you do this? Because if somebody asks me on the spot, hey, why'd you do that? I might say, I don't know.
Yeah, right. And so taking that time to really understand how they were thinking, how their mind was working, how they got to this place, which, the whole thing, everything you're saying is about connection. It's about connecting, and even that process of I care enough to know how you got to this place and why this is so important to you. And so is that a point of learning? Like, as you know that, then you can really help them to be able to, coping skills or...
Right, that's the point of learning, is that we want to lean into where our children are at in the moment rather than telling them that they need to be different than they're actually feeling in the moment. Because it's a denial of where their kids are at that will push them further away and cause a lack of understanding and connection, and an acceptance of where they're at that will help us see what's going on and understand.
Well said. Well said. Okay. So that really brings it in. That really brings it in real for parents. And I think that's some points that you can hear if you are in a situation with your child. And let's face it, when it comes to kids, when it comes to teens, that's a part of growth. That's a skill you develop. It's very easy to get that tunnel vision. We do that as adults. We have a bad day, we have a disappointment, and we just latch onto that, and that's all we can see, that's all we can focus on. But there's so much more going on in our lives. And when we have someone step up and say, hey, I get where you are, I get how hard this is, and let's talk about it. Let's figure out what's going on, you're already in a better place to find some solutions to get out of that. But with kids, I mean, they don't have that developed as much, right? You know, and with teens, they don't have that ability to develop. So what a big point I hear you saying is you're basically telling parents to kind of coach, kind of help through these very difficult times. The way they connect, the way they coach their kids helps them develop this skill so that the next time they have a big disappointment in their life, or as adults, they're going to be better equipped with those emotional skills to be able to handle it.
That's exactly right, because our kids really learn from us by what we do, not what we say. So if we treat them in a way that is respecting that they have the answers and that we don't have to force them to be different, even if their behavior is destructive, it's a powerful message that will allow them to trust us in a deeper way.
Yep, and that's what we want.
Absolutely.
Thank you, Jude. That is very helpful. I hope you guys heard that. Play it again, and be ready, because those kind of situations happen. Hopefully not to that extreme, but the disappointment and the difficulties of life are surely going to come with your kids. I mean, it's just a part of life, and it's your job, it's your privilege to be able to help your kids. Jude, are there any resources? I mean, what are some things that parents could look at? Maybe something you did, or other things out there?
Well, I would say, there are lots of resources on mindfulness and meditation. You could check out my website, akeenmind.com, and listen to episode number 5. It's going to give you the basics of mindfulness and meditation and get you started with many other resources that are available.
Yeah, awesome. Okay. So you got that. This dude knows what he's talking about, and he's a good friend. I appreciate you taking the trip all the way to Cincinnati to connect and to do this. And all this information will be in the notes and in the comment section. And if you have any questions, please put it down in the comments. And as always, you can subscribe to my YouTube channel, to my Facebook page. You can sign up for my email updates that way. Every time I come out with something new that is going to help you out, you're going to be the first one to know about it. Hey, I know it's tough. It is tough work, all this stuff we have to do, but your family needs you. Don't give up. Thanks, Jude.
Thank you, John.